Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sardana and this is Season 3 of our Daily Answer Writing Initiative. This initiative is supposed to help you for your mains answer writing practice for state civil services and UPSC civil services mains examination. This initiative is running in coordination with our website, which is rajisacademy.com. On the website, in the mains answer writing section, you will see this fully dedicated section for Seize the Mains. What we do here is, on an everyday basis, we pick up one topic from current affairs. We frame a question on the lines of UPSC and State Civil Services mains from that current affairs topic, and we teach you how to write a good answer for that question. The entire answer gets uploaded on our website. During this process, you learn answer writing with us. You see how you can proceed towards answer writing. You can also share your answers. What you can do is write your own answers and post it on our website at rajisacademy.com itself. If you click on any of these questions, you will see this page, and in the comment section, you will be able to post your answers. We will be able to see those answers, and our team will evaluate your model answers entirely free of cost and respond back with their feedback. We give detailed feedbacks to all the people sending answers to us, and a lot of students have seen great or immense improvement over time. So definitely, if you're appearing for civil services, definitely join this initiative, definitely start sending answers and visit our website for all the model answers, all the important questions that have been discussed till date. So let's start the topic for today. The topic for today is India's foreign policy. A very basic question has been framed. If you've studied international relations, I'm very much sure that India's foreign policy is something that you must have read. So with regards to India's foreign policy, see, three things can be important. What was the India's foreign policy in the past? The past, present and future. So if we talk about the past of India's foreign policy, you can see a question with regards to evolution of India's foreign policy. Evolution after independence, after the LPG reforms, evolution in the previous decade, anything. So, you should have a good idea of how India's foreign policy has evolved over time. All the timelines should be studied in detail by you. If we talk about India's foreign policy at present, so that is where your current affairs will come into focus. All the newspaper articles that you have been reading on a daily basis, anything with regards to international relations, that will hold great importance for you. If we talk about India's foreign policy in future, that would, if in case a question regarding projecting India's foreign policy in future is asked, or you're asked for solutions, this is definitely going to be a 150 words answer only, and you might see it as a comment question or just give your viewpoint question. So again, the role of your editorials will come into play, the role of your newspapers, magazines, that will come into play. When it comes to projection of something like India's foreign policy, you cannot give your own viewpoints. You'll have to see what is going on around and what does India aim to achieve in the coming years, in the coming decades, and with regards to that, the answer for future foreign policy can be formulated. Right now, today, the question is with regards to evolution of India's foreign policy since independence. So since I discussed all these three parts, evolution of India's foreign policy since independence, this is the simplest question you can see in your mains with regards to India's foreign policy. Nothing can be simpler than this question. So briefly discuss the evolution of India's foreign policy after independence. That's your first part of the question. What are the key features of foreign policy of India at present? So second part of the question is talking about what are the key features of foreign policy of India at present. So here, the current affairs, your knowledge of current affairs for the previous 1 year before you write mains, or the previous 2 years, that comes into play. So definitely, let's start our answer. We'll keep the introduction very short because in just 250 words, you have to write about all the phases of India's foreign policy. Also, you'll have to give some, backstory to every phase, and you'll have to connect all the phases. What was the incident that led to change in foreign policy from, let's say, non-alignment to, securing borders? So, let's proceed. Let's write a very basic line for an introduction, that the values that India has kept in mind with regards to framing its foreign policy, they have stayed more or less the same. So in the conduct of its foreign policy, India has adhered to certain basic principles. What are these basic principles? Non-alignment, peaceful settlement of international disputes, protecting the rights of developing world, etc. See, protecting the rights of developing world, here you can talk about climate change, here you can talk about having deterrence of their own, having space capabilities, technical advancements of their own, especially, you know, the MTCR that has come into picture, that India has become a member of. So India has been supporting a lot of developing countries from, it has been protecting a lot of countries in the south, global south, from aggression. It has been providing them with deterrence powers, better weapons, or, you know, the latest technology, so to say. We've been launching free satellites for many countries. So yes, the you know, basic values, or our basic value system that we follow in framing our foreign policy, obviously the first one has to be securing our own interest. That is the you know, first thing that any country's foreign policy would adhere to. But there are other basic values also, so definitely talk about these values, add to them, and write about them in the introduction itself. It would look very good, and, you know, it would you know, present the examiner with an open introduction, with the open viewpoint. So yes, these phases have been discussed as follows. In all the phases, these were the values, and all these phases have been discussed as follows. So we'll start, and this content regarding first phase, second phase, this is available widely over the internet. If you search for foreign policy of India and you type UPSC or IS with it, you'll see a lot of websites, and they will provide you with this content. So you don't have to worry about the content itself. In fact, on our website as well, this content has been uploaded, so don't worry about missing out on something. So the first phase is 1947 to 62. The first phase was known as optimistic non-alignment. This was right after independence. India led the non-alignment movement, we know that, and that went on till 1962 when we saw Chinese aggression. So yes, in this phase, India's goals were to protect its sovereignty, because recently we had got independence, rebuild its economy. That would be the main focus for any country that has just got independence, and maintain its integrity in the backdrop of Cold War, having a balanced stand. So India was instrumental in the formation of non-alignment movement in 1961, which marked the pinnacle of third world solidarity. The third one is in 1962, conflict with China did not only brought this period close, but also did so in a way that severely harmed India's reputation. So this is something you have to focus upon when you're writing about different phases of India's evolution of foreign policy, evolution of India's foreign policy. Write down in pointers. It's very hard for the examiner to read paragraphs. Write down in pointers, have as much numbering as you want. You can go for Roman numbers, you can go for ABCD approach, have bullet points, but definitely write in points. It becomes very easy for the examiner to understand, and underline the keywords. Do not forget underlining the keywords, because if you have the keywords underlined, the examiner will know what are you presenting, and how you are different from the other aspirants out there. The second phase, it began in 1962 and went on till 71. It was the decade of realism and recovery. So from this optimistic non-alignment, we went to realism, and obviously recovery had to happen because 2 wars had already been fought by India. So following the 1962 war, India made pragmatic is practical, security and political decisions. So from here our defense was increased, defense was focused upon, defense of borders was focused upon, our nuclear power was focused upon, which we saw in 1974 in the Pokhran test, and political decisions. As a result, India had begun to lean towards the Soviet Union. Earlier we were following the non-alignment approach, but yes, we had more leaning towards Soviet Union. Soviet Union was giving us a lot of weapons, latest weapons, which helped us maintaining our deterrence. Then you have the third phase here, which was from 1971 to 91. In 1971, we liberated Bangladesh. So this was about expansion, greater Indian regional assertion. Okay, so when India liberated Bangladesh in 1971, India-Pakistan war, it demonstrated a remarkable use of hard power. So regional assertion was taking place in this period, but this period was obviously ended by the BOP, or balance of payment crisis. Then it was particularly difficult period because the US, China and Pakistan access, your Indus Water Treaty, that was negotiated in this time only, and this United States was exceptionally supportive towards Pakistan, despite India warning again and again that it is breeding terrorists on its own soil, and China was obviously against India. So there were many regions which were there are many regions which were occupied illegally by Pakistan, but it was supported by China. So there was this axis of US, China, Pakistan that had formed at the time posed a serious threat to India's regional power prospects. So that was a threat. This three power axis, it posed a threat to India's regional power. After conducting a peaceful nuclear explosion, this was for deterrence, so that we do not get attacked again. And after that, wars have reduced significantly in number. So after conducting a peaceful nuclear explosion test in 1974, India received a lot of sanctions. India was sanctioned by US and its allies. That was Pokhran 1, your smiling Buddha. After that, what came in? Nuclear non-suppliers group. That came in 1974 itself, and India received a lot of sanctions, due to which India's nuclear power program could not move forward until 2009. So in addition, the fall of Soviet Union had happened. So obviously, with the coming of NSG also, Soviet Union for once and all, it was very weak. Secondly, we could not get nuclear fuel from Soviet Union itself because of the sanctions of NSG itself. So the fall of Soviet Union, India's close ally, and the economic crisis of 1991. Your ally is falling, you have sanctions on international level, you have BOP crisis, and you have this Gulf War, which pushed oil prices really high. So we landed up in a BOP crisis, and after 1991, our foreign policy had to change, because yes, we opened our borders and LPG reforms were brought in. So let's see what was the next fourth phase. Fourth phase started from 91 to 98. And in 98 again we had a war. So yes, and we had a war also around 98. Also we tested our nuclear weapons for the second time, Pokhran 2, that was your Operation Shakti. Safeguarding strategic economy. So it was about, yes, we were opening our borders, but we needed to secure our strategic autonomy also. How we did that? There was this emergence of a unipolar world. After the fall down of Soviet Union, a unipolar world emerged, and it was led by the United States. So India rethinked its approach. We were trying to develop good relations with the United States of America. Israel, which is a very good ally of United States because of the presence of Jewish population. So yes, both are very good allies. So we were developing good relations with both of them, USA and Israel. Thirdly, we had this look east approach, look east policy of India, and this big brother attitude. In the look east policy, what we were developing was good relations with ASEAN, so that our strategic autonomy could be developed, especially in the Southeast Asian region. So this quest for strategic economy was centered on securing the country's nuclear weapons capability. Pokhran 2 happened in 1998, again more deterrence to you. And during this time, India increased its engagement with US, Israel and ASEAN countries. And in the fifth phase, this would be much relatable to you, because I'm sure you must have been, receiving your education in that time at least. 1998 to 2013, and India has been a balancing power here. In fact, it continues to do that even till date. So during this time, India began to develop the characteristics of a balancing power against the rise of China. In fact, the Western world also saw India as a balancing power, especially after the 2001 terrorist attacks. India's voice was heard on an international level very seriously, because earlier only we were talking about this terrorism going on at international level and India being at the receiving end of it. But after the 2001 terror attacks, the 9/11 attacks, India was being taken seriously. During this time in 2009, we also, IAEA safeguards. We also followed that, and we were signing civil nuclear cooperation agreements with many countries, starting with USA, and this was the 123 agreement. So yes, India's relations received a boost from here. India was seen as a balancing power against China in the Indo-Pacific region. India could unite with China on climate change and trade. So yes, we are still the biggest trading partners, India and China, as well as strengthen ties with Russia, all while assisting in the formation of BRICS. So BRICS and other regional corporations were coming up apart from the United Nations structure. So yes, now talking about the features of India's foreign policy right now, and we'll be talking about the period of 2013 until now. So this is the period of energetic engagement. India's policy of non-alignment transformed into multi-alignment in this period of transitional geopolitics. So that is where you'll start with. India is now more aware of its own capabilities as well as the expectations placed on it by the rest of the world. So now, what are the strengths of India? It is one of the world's major economies, one of the world's biggest markets, a major defense power, and a leading spacefaring nation. That is something we cannot ignore, keeping in view the past 2 months at least, all leading to increased global reputation and standing. India's demography, pardon me for that, India's demography is going to be very advantageous for it on a global level in the creation and maintenance of global technology over time. India's willingness to influence key global negotiations such as the one on climate change or the G20 talks or any such global negotiations, taking a stand for the global south, that is significant here. And it has a very different kind of approach in the Indian Ocean which brings everyone together. We have the Sagar initiative, other regional initiatives. You can talk about the West Asian Quad itself for the Indo-Pacific, for this areas with Arabian Sea and Mediterranean Sea. You can talk about West Asian Quad, you can talk about SCO, talking about South Asia and Central Asia. So definitely mention about these organizations in which India has actively taken part. In the conclusion, talk about something that has happened in the past year and what you feel will happen in future, or what are India's strengths. So in 2022, India returned to FTAs, free trade agreements. After a very long time, they were signed by India with UAE and Australia. Very important. And with Australia, with a developed country, we have signed an FTA after a decade almost, or even more than that. So after a hiatus of several years, now we have the chairmanship of G20 itself. G20 की chairmanship हमारे पास है. So there India is expected to highlight climate change transitions. That is also a part of our foreign policy. It enhances our soft power. It enhances our position as a leader of the world. Women-led development and multilateral reform, among other key issues. In the neighborhood, India's foreign policy was marked by economic assistance to Sri Lanka. So this year, Sri Lanka went through an economic turmoil and India was consistently supporting it financially through aid and economically. It was even more than what assistance Sri Lanka received from IMF itself. So India's assistance was even more than that. In the midst of its collapse, and regional trade and energy agreements with Bangladesh, Bhutan and Nepal that could see a South Asian energy grid emerge, and India would lead that. So India has also strengthened ties with Central Asian countries on connectivity. Your SCO holds importance here, not SCO, your INSTC. INSTC holds importance here, definitely mention its name, and it can be projected that India's relations with other countries in future will not be forced by external forces but guided by its own strength. Now this is the concluding line that we are focusing on here, that earlier India's foreign policy was kind of in a way forced by external factors, but now since India is sitting in its own strength, it's realizing its own strength in terms of space, defense, economy, all the things. Demography is in favor of India. We have Indians present all over the world, biggest remittance receivers. So yes, foreign policy would now be guided by India's strengths, not forced by India's weaknesses or projected weaknesses on us by the Western world. So economic, defense, technical and its own soft power. That is your concluding line. One another advice for this answer. See, you have at least 5 to 6 parts of this answer. Definitely devise a flowchart for yourself and mark all these. India, a balancing power, safeguarding strategic economy. All these titles, mark them or rephrase them and mark them in your flowchart itself. That would make your answer very presentable. Also, if you have some data, statistics related to that, put them in introduction and conclusion, highlight it, underline it with the same ink pen that you are using for writing your answer. Definitely go to the website, visit rajayesacademy.com and read out the whole answer. I'll see you with another discussion on Monday 9 p.m. now. It's New Year's time, so yes, tomorrow there would be no telecast of Seize the Mains. So definitely wishing you a very happy, prosperous and successful New Year for all of you. Keep working hard, stay focused on your goals and make this journey a success for you. So I'll see you on Monday. Take care, complete your targets, give yourself good rest. It's New Year's time. And yes, this is the best time to plan your goals ahead, plan your year ahead. All the best.